This is the 2023 BMW 320i, and you might be looking at it, much as I did, and think to yourself, well, that looks just like last year's model. And you'd be right, apart from one or two small things. But open the door and you'll see that there's been one very big change. This is Four Wheels in a Seat. My name's Alex Dalrymple, and this is the channel where you can see new cars reviewed every week. But in order not to miss one, you're going to need to subscribe. So please hit that button down below. And if you enjoy the video, give me a like as well. The 3 Series is probably BMW's safest and most plain looking car. I mean, that's partly by design. It is their top selling non-SUV vehicle after all. But it's a timeless design that has evolved in similar proportions and size over the last 30 years. So what's new on the outside? Well, there's new headlights, the bumper is new, and the grille has changed a bit, although it has managed to miss the M3's giant snout. From the side, there's really no mistaking this for anything other than a BMW 3 Series. It's such a classic shape. We've got new 18-inch alloys this year, done in bi-colour alloy, and they are wrapped in Michelin run-flat tyres. The back of the 3 Series pretty much the same as it was before, with a 480 litre storage space here in the boot. And under the bonnet we've got a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine which outputs 135 kilowatts of power and 300 newton meters of torque, shooting this car to 100 k's per hour in an okay 7.4 seconds, although it does feel a little bit quicker than that in the flesh. Fuel economy comes in at 6.5 litres per 100 kilometres on a combined cycle, and all the power is driven through an 8-speed automatic transmission to the rear wheels only. Once you step inside though, that is where you'll see the biggest change in this year's 3 Series, with the all-new dashboard design incorporating Operating System 8, which is being progressively rolled out across BMW's entire range. It's basically 2 large LED screens joined together in a single curved display. The center console screen runs all of the infotainment just as you'd expect, but the previous version of this software was already class leading, so BMW have had to work really hard to try and improve it, with mixed results because it has now become so complicated that it can be hard to find basic functions. Like this home screen where you can customize your most used widgets is fantastic, but if you go into the main app screen here, you'll see it's just a mountain of icons, and to try and find which one you need can be a nightmare. The other day I was trying to increase the brightness of the head-up display on the windshield. It took me ages to figure it out, and in the end I ended up using a voice command to do it for me just because it was so complicated. And I'm wondering if BMW are actually deliberately sending us in that direction on purpose. Could be. Should you just want to ignore a lot of the apps, you can of course wirelessly connect with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay as well. Moving down the console, the climate controls that were here have been removed and put into the center console screen, same as the numbered shortcut buttons that used to be down underneath that. They've been replaced by some basic audio system controls and front and rear demister buttons. We've still got this cubby here which houses the wireless phone charging, a USB port and a couple of cup holders. The lower console here is mostly unchanged from what it was before. Fans of the jog wheel will be happy to know it's still here in the 3 Series. You can still control the center console screen manually with this wheel, plus the shortcut buttons are there too. The main difference though is of course that the gear shifter, the gear stick, is gone. It's been replaced by this little lever here that you use to put the car in drive or reverse. We've got the powered park brake, of course, the drive mode buttons just the same as they were, and under the center console bin lid here is a relatively small storage space with another USB-C. Head-up display on the windshield has been redesigned slightly. I like it. You can customize the information that appears on there just as before. The digital instrument cluster is all new as well. There are a few different display modes linked to whatever drive mode you're in, and they all look really good. I think it's actually a much more contemporary and sharp design than it used to be before. The only thing that doesn't seem to be here that used to be here was maps. You can no longer have maps on display right in front of you, but you can have them permanently displayed on the center console screen if you like. This steering wheel, I'm just not a fan of. Look, I know it's a typical normal BMW steering wheel. It's in pretty much every car they make, but it just feels a bit thick in the hand and it's just a bit too big. You know, this is such a dynamic car that's so much fun to throw around on a twisty country road that having a smaller wheel would just be awesome. But, you know, it is what it is. It's not horrible. We've got paddle shifters on the wheel as well to change gears manually if you like. Audio system and cruise controls are here too. The seats are leather with suede accents. They're very comfortable and they hug you in very tightly, especially with the adjustable bolsters here in the driver's seat. There's full electric adjustment and the seating position is really low and sporty in the cabin, but it doesn't impede your view out the front at all. I can see pretty much right to the front of the big bonnet and there's good visibility in the rear vision mirrors. The wing mirrors are a little bit on the small side, but they are okay. The materials in the cabin, much as they were before, still soft touch up on top here. We've got a nice detailed aluminium feature here in the middle and down in the lower console. Gets a little bit hard and plasticky underneath the belt line, and we've got some nice leather with blue stitching here on the doors. So all up, a very nice cabin to be in. Okay, let's see what it's like as a backseat passenger in the back of the 3 Series, and look, it's not huge, but it's doable. I'm behind my own sitting position. I'm 190 centimeters tall. My knees are into the back of the seat in front of me, but this plastic shell here has a sort of curved in feature. So there is a little bit of extra room there, but I would be asking the driver if they could slide their way forward just a little bit. We've got a separate zone of climate control back here and 2 more USB-C ports, a couple of air vents, of course. Headroom a little bit limited and dark headliner does sort of make it a little bit dark back here. There is a sunroof there, but well, just at the moment anyway, it's not really helping light things in the back seat very much. The seats are very comfortable though. Armrest with a mechanical cup holder for 2 cups. I haven't broken it, that's good. Look, all up, it's actually very comfortable back here. This car has so much go. It's so lively, and although it's been a while since I drove the 320i Coupe, my memory of that is that it was a little bit breathless and sort of not struggled, but just wasn't as good as this. This feels actually much better. I was just reading on LinkedIn this morning on the BMW channel that they are actually running a competition at the moment with game developers to come up with some games that can be played on operating system 8 here on the center screen using your phone as a controller. Now, this is obviously something Tesla have been doing for a while, using the steering wheel as an input, but I'd be very curious to see what BMW comes up with. Because BMWs are just so well made and so solid, in some ways you feel a little bit like you're driving a brick down the road, and I don't mean that in any bad sense. It's so flat and so glued to the road that it almost feels immovable, but yet it is so dynamic around corners and stays so flat with zero body roll. We've got 3 different drive modes: Sport, Comfort and Eco Pro, and the great thing with the Sport individual mode is that you can configure it to change a few of the settings around. Now, look, it's not nearly as configurable as, say, an M3, but there are a few things you can alter, like the steering, the drivetrain, and the transmission. Select whether they're in comfort or sport mode. The change on the driving experience isn't as pronounced as it is in some other cars, but still noticeable. The suspension though is not adaptive. You get what you get, and it is reasonably firm, but the trade-off is of course those fantastic cornering capabilities. It is really quiet in here though. I can't hear the engine at all, which, you know, when you put your foot down you do like to hear a bit of engine noise, but it's there, it's just not very loud. I think this car's best noise actually is when you first turn it on. There's something about the sound of a BMW starter motor. It just sounds so impressive. That and closing the doors, because they make a really nice solid noise. This car also has a feature called Parking Assistant, where it will remember the last 50 meters of driving input before you park your car. So if you get into a really tight spot and you're not sure how to get out, the car will do it for you. Released 5 years ago, the 3 Series BMW is probably due for a bit more of an extensive overhaul, but its fantastic performance and updated tech still make it one of the best sedans you can buy.